it was more of a resonance. It was more of a calling. I feel like it was calling to me because, I mean, I'm going to articulate this. Howard Gardner calls it a crystallizing experience when you discover something in your life. Sometimes it happens when you're real young, but it's never too late. I believe in late bloomers. When you discover something that just vibrates on such a deep frequency to your being, the core of your being, that you are like, yeah, that's it. That's me. And it happens in all sorts of things. You have youngsters with amazing talent in basketball who watch Michael Jordan play a game and are like, Kobe Bryant did that when he was young. I know, because I grew up with Kobe Bryant. I went to school with him, and he was like, I want to do that. I want to be that. It's just like he just felt it in his bones. Not only did he want to, but that he could. And reading the writings of Maslow is like my Jordan. I know that sounds really weird, maybe.
No.
But in that analogy of, well, if Jordan's to Kobe, Maslow is to Kaufman. Okay.
Right.
Because I read his writings about self-actualization, and I have been spending my whole career studying how we can help kids with learning disabilities, help people, prodigies, gifted kids, intellectually gifted kids who feel awkward and shy but are capable of so much, and are bullied, and just like at an intuitive level, that's what I've been studying my whole career. But to be able to, when I discovered Maslow's writings, and I was like, oh, that's what I've been doing in my career, it really snapped into clarity and purpose what it was. It was like, and reading Maslow's writings as well is like drinking fine wine. He's such a good writer, but he's such a good articulator of the human existence. Right. And to me, reading his writings must be what it's like for Kobe to watch Michael Jordan when Kobe was young, watching Jordan, do such a seamless layup, changing his hand, dunk, acrobats. It looks like, when you see something beautiful at that level, it looks so natural, right, and so effortless. And that's what I felt reading Maslow's writings. So that's my best articulation of the answer to your question.
That's beautiful. And so what I really loved about Maslow's writing, and his conception of self-actualization, or his conception of the growth hierarchy, was that so I hope it's okay for me to get a little bit personal with you here, Scott. So I've had...
of course.
Okay, cool. So I've had similar experiences to you, not I think on your exact sort of in your sort of on your level, or however you would frame it. But the thing is, when I was a kid in school, I hated going to school, right? So for me, pretty much teachers were like, oh, he's just really slow and he just doesn't understand the material. I mean, it kind of is what it is. So little by little, I was kind of put in lower and lower classes. So what I love about kind of Maslow's work is that what he does, and what he what he sort of professed, was that for any individual, it doesn't matter kind of where you are, whatever your IQ is, we are all capable of growing. And this sort of self-actualization hierarchy, or rather the hierarchy that sort of for us ends in self-actualization. Obviously for you it's from your understanding it's self-transcendence, but the point is that for Maslow, he said that no, this is literally applicable to all of us, that no matter who you are, no matter what your sort of no matter what your disabilities or difficulties are, you are not excluded from this. And so what was cool was when you actually told your story about how you kind of found him and you applied that sort of thinking to your life, and then in some way helped you kind of helped you feel like you were capable of much more maybe than some of the people in the beginning stages of your life made you feel you were.
Yeah, that's very true. Self-actualization, if that's your North Star, it's a very different life you live than if achievement is your North Star, or high performance is your North Star, or money or power. I mean, there's something specific about self-actualization, which, I mean, I wrote a book. My first book for a popular audience was called Ungifted, Intelligence Redefined. And I don't know if I had any Maslow reference in there. If I did, it wasn't because I had discovered him yet. It was just a reference. But looking back now, when I look at that book again, I realize it was a humanistic perspective on education is really what I was grasping for, and which I came up with, and from a lot of my personal experiences, and research I put together. But it really, that was really the perspective that now I can put a name on it. Say that, well, what I was really arguing in Ungifted is that we need to shift our education system to focus on self-actualization. But I didn't have that language to use at that point, so I had a clunky definition of intelligence, which I defined as the dynamic interplay of ability and engagement in the pursuit of personal goals, which is literally just saying intelligence needs to be viewed within the context of the drive for self-actualization. I could have said it much more elegantly if I had read Maslow's writings at that time in my life when I was young when I wrote that book.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
That's so interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in terms of kind of and now kind of going back to Maslow, so in terms of the pyramid, right, we obviously kind of, this is something that we've been fed since we were children, but how come in your sort of understanding and your conception you sort of reconceptualized it into a sailboat?
The sailboat metaphor was, I should give Andy Ogden credit, he's a designer, and it was through conversations with a top-tier designer, like Nike has his branding, I was like, well, what can really be a good way of visualizing this for the 21st century? And because the pyramid has to go. So I had other iterations. I had the idea of the concentric circles, which made it on the cover with the sailboat in it, which I think is the perfect combination. I could explain the cover at many levels to someone if they want to listen to me about it. But after a conversation with Andy Ogden, I was like, what I'm trying to get at is, help me get at this, is that Maslow didn't focus on the pyramid. He focused on the relationship between safety and growth, and that dialectical between security and growth, and how our defenses can get us in the way, and we need to have the defenses first. But that's really what Maslow was getting at, not the lockstep. And he's like, I think I got the perfect metaphor, sailboat. And immediately I was like, you're right, it's perfect. And yeah, I really think that it really captures that spirit of, and not only that, but it still has a nod to the pyramid, because the sail is the pyramid. The pyramid's still there, so it's got its iconic aspect of it. But we can't fully open our sail until we feel like our boat is secure from leaks. We have to defend. Defenses are good, are wise. But Maslow distinguishes between growth defenses. We have higher defenses and lower defenses. He did with everything. He distinguished a lower and a higher version of it. But he did that with defenses. But our lower defenses are like ego defenses, and when we're feeling lonely, things we do to protect us from the pain of loneliness, things like that. Really are wise. They're adaptive from an evolutionary point of view, for sure, and can be adaptive within our own life. But ultimately, if you want to go anywhere, you got to open the sail eventually. You got to open the sail and accept that the vast unknown of the sea could bring you waves. You have to accept it. You have to really embrace that growth at some point if you ever want to grow.
Right.
Or else you're just living in the boat your whole life, which can feel comfortable, but this can make you a little stir crazy.
Yeah, and is that really a life worth living? I mean, it's safe, but will you grow? Will you experience? Will you explore?
Right.
Will you see different things?
Will you actually be alive?
All those, the latter part of what you said were good questions. The life worth living question I am averse to, because I would never presume to say what someone's life to them might be. It might be worth living. Some people, someone who wants to live in a cabin in the middle of the woods and not ever talk to another human their whole life and just read, and that actually, for someone might be worth living. But I think those other questions you asked are very, very fair questions. About